All right, we are live action, y'all. Dr. Pinesett here. Who ready? We are live. Who saw the debate last night? The debate was everything, guys. It was fire. It was ice. It was all of the good stuff I needed on my Tuesday evening. I loved every second of it. I watched it from start to finish. Oh, and we're going to break it down tonight, not from the political sense, right? Because everyone has their political parties, whatever's whatever. But we're going to talk about what always matters, what matters the most, and that's you guys as students and as pre-meds getting better. So we're going to talk about it as an exercise in communication, in being able to persuade, and in how it's going to affect you for your networking, for your interviewing, in your career, so you guys can push forward, get in medical school, and so forth. What is up, Josh Sean on here early? I like it. If you are ready to learn, like the video right now. If you are ready to learn and you have some particular questions, and I already got questions from my social media earlier, so I appreciate you guys who commented earlier with your questions, and we'll make sure we address those today. But put your comments in the box, your questions in the box. I'm going to hit the introduction, and then we'll get right to it, y'all. Today is the day, guys. You're going to take your future into your own hands. You're going to dominate. You're going to be successful. No excuses, just dominate. Alrighty, guys. How's everybody doing? Everybody's heated up. It's an election year, man. It's getting crazy out here. Everybody's freaking out. I freaking, it's kind of nuts. But last night's debate was everything. It was everything. And so we're going to talk about it, guys. If you don't know, I'm Dr. Pinesett. I'm the pre-med protein expert. And as always, I'm here to help you guys think better, study better, pre-med better, so you can get to medical school, live your dreams, and be everything you want to be. That's what we're talking about. So this debate last night, where do you guys land on it? I think it was really good. Like I said, turn these on real quick. I'm walking in the door last minute as always, guys. I thought it was great. And it's in this world, guys, the number one skill you can have if you want to be successful, if you want to really, really make it big in this world, the biggest, most important skill you can develop is your interpersonal skills. You have to be able to relate, to connect, to ingratiate yourself to people. If you do not have interpersonal skills, soft skills, if your emotional quotient, if all these things aren't on par, it's going to severely hinder your career. And on the flip side, if you have great interpersonal skills, if you are great with people, it will elevate your career in ways you could never even imagine. And as I say that, many of you guys are like, well, I don't like talking to people. I'm kind of an introvert and those kind of things. There is no excuse for that, because I am the ultimate introvert. I hate the gosh darn people. I just want to be in my shell. I'm like a crab. I just want to be in my shell, tucked away safely, away from all the people. But because I understood the importance of being able to articulate myself, be able to communicate who I am in my messaging, I learned to develop those communication skills, and it has elevated my career, guys, and taken me places, and people have given me opportunities that maybe I didn't deserve. And I'll give you, we'll start right there from the top. With communication, with interpersonal skills, with dealing with people, with elevating your career, it all starts with being willing to put yourself in front of people. And as I watched this debate last night, it's a matter of, and you look at how Trump got into this position, it's a matter of familiarity. And if you want to have opportunities, if you find yourself as a student, as a pre-med, you don't have lots of opportunities, it's because you haven't put yourself in a position to be targeted, to be seen as things are happening. You have to be seen. You have to be part of the crowd. And this is one of the problems, right, with being a disadvantaged student, right? Being an underrepresented student is you don't naturally have a built-in network. You don't have a daddy who's been the doctor. You don't have a daddy who's at the country club who can introduce you in these settings. And so what you first and foremost have to do as a student, as a pre-med, is get used to putting yourself out there, recognize the importance of these connections, and going to these environments that maybe make you uncomfortable. And early on in my career, when I started college, right, as a first-generation college student, I didn't have the connections. And it made me nervous to go in these settings. Like, oh my gosh, higher education, these professors, these doctors, everybody's so smart. Well, what do I know about that? And it was intimidating, right? You know, the imposter syndrome set in. And so I wouldn't go to these events. And I had a woman who was very influential in my early career, a mentor of mine, a lady named 𝐇𝐎𝐏𝐄, who I discovered on campus and was a person on campus who used to help minority students. And I talked to her. She's like, well, hey, how come you're not going to this? I'm like, well, I just feel like, I'll look stupid if I go to that, if I go for this. And she told me something that I've held with me to this day and has really, really, really shaded my perspective in all things. And she told me this. And when she said it, it reminded my dad. I'll tell you that story in a second. But she said to me, she said, hey, if you want to succeed, if you want to become a doctor, you have to be the type of person when you see a line out of something, you don't even have to know what the line is for. You're the next person in that line. When you see a sign that says come in for whatever, you go and you get that. You have to be a person who goes and sees his opportunity. And when she said that to me, it rang so true to my core, to my heart, because one of the things that my dad told me that, again, it now supersedes that, is I was going to 7th grade dance. Okay, I was in junior high, and it was my first ever dance. And you guys know, right? Everyone's had that first dance, and you're nervous, you're freaking out, you don't know what to do, anything could happen, right? I'm a young, preteen boy, and it's like, man, I want to dance with a girl. That would be awesome, but girls might not like me, and that rejection I could never recover from, right? And so I'm all nervous about the dance. Like my dad's like, hey, how you feel about the dance? I'm like, I'm really nervous. Like, I don't know if I should even go. And my dad quoted Marvin Gaye to me, and he said, hey, remember the great words of Marvin Gaye. And he said, you can't stand on the wall, and I'm paraphrasing here. You can't stand on the wall. He said, you got to be moving, you got to be grooving, you got to be putting yourself out there on the dance floor. Because as long as your body's moving, right, as long as you're dancing, there's always a chance that somebody watching might want to make romance. Oh, when he said that, I loved it. That's what networking is. That's what building a career is you have to put yourself out there. You have to be vulnerable and say, I'm going to go for this. You need to go to these networking opportunities. That's the first thing, is to show up and to show out. When I wanted to go to residency, right, and I was a medical student, I identified that if I wanted to go to residency, I had to make connections with these residency directors. And so one of the great places that these residency directors are all at are these mega conferences for whatever specialty. And for me, I wanted to go to anesthesia, right? And so I would go to these conferences. And not only would I go to these conferences, I would sign up for them. People are like, oh, I'm going to wait and sign up. I'm like, no, I'm going today. I was going from first year on, going to the conferences. And then when I went to the conferences, a lot of people are like, oh, yeah, I'm going to go to the med student sessions. And I'm like, no, I ain't going to that. I'm going to the residency. I'm going to go wherever those directors will be. That's where I will be. And so I literally, you saw it here first, I'm the original OG stalker of the earth. And I would stalk these residency directors. I'd be walking around the conference. People are like, oh, I'm going to look at the poster. Oh, I'm going to go to this session. I ain't going to no lectures. I'm looking for residency directors. You look like a residency director. Are you a residency director? And I would just accost people and say, hey, my name is Andre Pinesett. I'm interested in residency. Tell me about your residency. And I would just get in there and mix it up. And by doing that, guys, what was incredible was I actually truly did meet all of these residency directors. And because I had the �𝐏𝐿, right, to step up and put myself out there and go for this, they were so impressed by that I got invited to things that other medical students get invited to. And I can remember as a first-year medical student, I got invited to a happy hour for a residency program that I really was interested in at the time. And I go to this residency happy hour, and the only people there are program director, faculty from that school, residents from that school, and medical students from that school. I'm the only person not from that residency who's at that happy hour. And you could imagine, right? It's like a topic of conversation. Like, wait, you're not part of our program? What are you doing here? Oh, I just holding a bump to so. Oh my gosh. And instantly they say, you must be impressive because you got here when no one else is here from outside. And so it gave me all sorts of credibility, and that blossomed. And eventually I ended up having an interview with that program. I ended up being, highly considered at that program because I didn't go there. But it started with putting myself out there and A, going to the conference, and then B, being willing to step up and say, even though I'm just a medical student, I'm going to step up to this person who is distinguished, and I'm going to say my piece. I'm going to stand out in a positive way. So number one, as long as you're dancing, there's always a chance somebody watching might want to make that romance. Put yourself in the game, guys. Get off the wall and get into these opportunities. And don't be discouraged. This is the beauty of a networking event, is it's for networking. They expect people to talk to them. So go up and take full advantage. Does that make sense to everybody? If that makes sense to you right now, like this video. And that's where we start. You got to show up. And once you show up, It is so important, guys. Networking, interviewing. The number one thing, where people miss the boat, and this is, you guys remember I got a lot of flack maybe about 2 months ago when I talked about Biden and Trump. And I talked about how I see why people vote for Trump. And I literally started with, hey, I'm not a Trump supporter. I will not vote for Trump, but I see why people will. And I proceeded to say something. I got a lot of pushback, but it was so great because the dynamic of why I praised Trump actually got Trump dunked in the water last night on that debate. And that is, you guys have to be clear on not the words you're going to use, but on the messaging that you want to convey. Life is about message. Why? Because the message is sent and it is received by the receiver and is perceived in a way. And this happens, you see this, where someone tries to communicate something, but they aren't clear on what they're trying to communicate, and there becomes a miscommunication. And it's not, that's what I meant, right? Because the perception is in who's listening to it. And so in communication, it's easy to get focused on, okay, how should I say it? Blah, blah, blah. No. What is the message? What is the goal? What are you trying to articulate? And in networking situations and in interviews, if you don't have a clear goal of what you're trying to put out there in your communication, you're going to end up with mumble mouth, which is what Biden's problem was, right? And you're going to end up in a place where it becomes muddled and it becomes perceived as either incompetence or a lack of confidence in your communication skills. Trump's asset that I praised 2 months ago was the fact that he is very clear and steadfast in his messaging. You know exactly what he stands for. Whether you agree with it or not, he lets it be known, this is what I'm about. He doesn't worry about trivial things like statistics and facts. He's got messaging in his pocket. And Biden, stumbling, fumbling, trying to come up with facts was a problem. And if you guys watched the debate last night, it was a masterclass in the importance of messaging, because if you watched, I was very, very nervous, very, very nervous at the beginning of the debate, because Kamala came out there with dry mouth, right? I'm like, where's the glass of water for her? She was clearly nervous. And in those nerves, she started trying to go factual. She's going to give us statistics and blah, blah, blah. When you do that, you obfuscate, you hide the messaging. It's easy to get lost in these things because then it messes up the flow and the delivery of what you're trying to communicate. And so you get so trapped trying to deliver the individual words and the right statistic that you forget what was the gosh darn message. And it was so great to see her pivot and get more comfortable and recognize, I'm in a street fight here on messaging, so let me get off saying all this whatever and let me get to messaging. He's a crook. He's a felon. He's a liar. That's messaging. And so for you guys, when you enter networking situations, when you enter interviews, what is the message you are trying to convey? When you enter a networking event, okay, what is my goal here? And this is one of the big mistakes students make, is they don't have a goal set out. So they're like, oh, they're overeager. They just like jump on people, right? When you enter a networking event, this is your first contact with someone. First contact. Think about it like dating, right? The first time you meet someone, you go get their phone number, right? Oh my gosh, she looked good over there. I'm gonna go get her phone number. You walk up to her. Would you give her all the information about your whole life? Would you ask her to marry you? Right there, first sight, no dates. Oh, wait, I'm on here. I'm live action. Would you guys ask someone you just saw at a bar, at a library? Would you ask them, hey, this is my whole life. Will you marry me? Would you do that? No. So why do you guys do that in networking situations? You see someone, you go up to them, and you say, oh my gosh, Dr. So-and-so, you are the head of so-and-so. You are my idol. Will you adopt me? Can I work in your lab? Can we be together? Can I go to your program? You do all these things, right? And you just like, blah, 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 blah. You say, here's my life story. Here's where I come from. Here's what I've been through. Blah, blah, blah. And you're just like bombarding them with words. And they instantly are like, away with you, right? And try to give you that karate kick away. And you're wondering, like, why is somebody running from me? Because you're coming on too strong. First encounter, relax, breathe, take a second, recognize this is the first moment. It's not even the first date. This is your first meeting. So you must create some sort of rapport and buy-in on their end and take it slow. You over-eager, right? Take it slow. And so when you go to these networking events, it's not so much about giving them a whole lot of information about yourself. What it is about is making them feel like you are a compassionate, warm person who is not weird, who is not awkward, who won't be a drain on their time. Make them feel you and feel like this is someone who I should give, right, my number to, my email to going forward. And so when you approach these networking events, you should be going to these people and you should be saying, hey, listen, I know you are Dr. So-and-so. My name is so-and-so. I'm a pre-med at whatever university. I'm interested in going to medical school. And I just love to talk to you for a couple minutes if I can. Boom, start simple. Okay, great. I won't take up too much of your time, but something I wanted to ask about is that your university, and you ask them a specific question about the university, or you ask them a specific question about themselves. It's not about you. It's not about giving them information. Ask them about them. And they've done studies on this. And people who are called great communicators, great talkers, oh my gosh, they're a great person to be around. I love being around them. It's not so much what they say. It actually is the fact that they're perceived as great listeners. And so in an initial encounter, what you're trying to achieve in networking is you're trying to be perceived as this great listener. And so the way you become a great listener is you get them to talk. You get them to talk by asking them a question. So you ask them a question about them, about their journey, about whatever, right? And we talk about, you ask them that question and then you listen actively to what they're saying, right? Like the movie Hitch, you listen, right, to what they're saying. And whatever they say, the temptation that many of us think we have to do is that we have to one-up them. So whatever their response is, we have to show them how much we know. We have to show them how experienced we are. That's not what we do. What we do is we use their response as an opportunity to say something insightful about what they just said, and then give them another opportunity to speak. So for example, if you ask someone about, hey, listen, you know what? I'm a black male in medicine. You're a black male in medicine also. I'm just wondering, how have you kind of navigated being black in this predominantly white space? Maybe you ask that question, right? And they say, well, you know what? It can be challenging, but what I found is that people are just people, and and they give you some response. And you say, you know what? That's a really good insight on that. I agree, people are just people. So with it being just people, and then you ask them another question related to that. So you say, well, listen, with people being people, what's been instrumental in you actually getting to this point, getting to this career? And so you take their question and you quickly, right, they give you an answer back, you quickly flip it back on them and get them talking again. And you get them talking and talking. Before long, they're talking so much, you don't have to do anything, and they feel like you've been this great listener. Like, oh my gosh, hey, I don't take too much of your time. And you always end. This is the other thing. So first phone number. After you get them talking a little bit and you ask them a couple questions, 2 questions, 3 questions at the most, it's important that you leave while the iron's still hot. Think of it like a rock band, right? They say in show business, right, when you're doing music, that you do the encore, but you always leave while the audience is still clapping. That's what you do in a network situation. Don't wait until the conversation dies off to leave. Leave while it's hot. Oh my God, this has been a great conversation. I don't take too much time. I know a lot of people want to hear and talk to you, but I was wondering, can I get your email, possibly email you, ask you some follow-up questions? Right? You start there. And then you follow up on that, right? You actually email them and you email them something poignant about what you talked about. And then you use that email to continue to further the relationship, to further have discussions, further have touching points. And then you start, once you've built up that relationship, then you start to ask them for things. You don't just say, hey, can I get your lab right away? Hey, can I get a medical school right away? You build a relationship. Does that make sense to everybody? And that starts with understanding what our messaging is. And in a first initial encounter, it's about making that contact and moving forward. When you get to interviews and it talks about messaging, the key takeaway here is a lot of people don't understand that when you list your accomplishments, when you list your statistics, you aren't showing how great you are. You're showing, right, what can be perceived as arrogance. When someone lists off, oh, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, it's off-putting. Am I right? It's off-putting. So don't do that. Instead, focus on the message you're trying to convey, which is I'm trying to impress upon them what a great person I am. And the person you are, yes, it's reflecting your achievements, but more importantly, it's reflecting how you interact. So when you look at an interview, you should look at it as a conversation where you are trying to show them you are a quality person, a nice person. So in everything you say, don't worry about the words, but worry about, am I putting forth the qualities that are valued in a medical student and in a future doctor? So everything you say must be measured against that scale. Don't say anything to the contrary. Does that make sense? It's messaging. And we're at 20 minutes already? How? How are we at 20 minutes already? All right. Everyone, like this video right now. Let me know you guys still hit with me right now. Okay? We follow that. Actually, you know what? I'm going to cap it at 20 minutes. Dang, I have so much stuff. We just got started with the first thing. All right. Does everybody have fun with this? We're going to end this. I got coaching today with my Dominate Premed students. I saw your question there. It's Dominate Premed today. So we'll get started with that in a couple minutes. But I hope that you guys enjoyed this talk. We'll do a part 2 later this week because I apologize. I meant to get into I got a whole giblet of stuff here. I haven't even gotten to eat dogs and cats yet. We got to get there. They're eating the dogs and the cats, yo! They're eating them. We'll get to that. We'll get to body language. We got a lot of good stuff to talk about. So we'll continue this later this week. But if you've enjoyed this live stream, guys, take a second, like this video. Also, while I have you here, I have a flash sale back to school discount right now on my 5 pillars to getting your grades. That link is in the bio below or in the description below. So check that out to get that flash sale discount on my 5 pillars. Also, I have a phenomenal med school interview course. So if you're interested in med school interview, just comment in the box below that, hey, Dr. Pinesett, I want your med school interview course. And I'll give you a discount link for that as well, because it's always about helping you guys. All right. So everybody have a wonderful evening. I don't know about no dogs and cats being tasty or whatever, but I just couldn't believe he was saying all that stuff. It was crazy. But everybody have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you guys next time. How do we always end? No excuses, just dominate, guys. Later. That's it for another episode of the Premed Productivity Podcast. Show your love by smashing the like button and commenting in the box below. Today is the day, guys. No more excuses, no more complaining. You're going to take your future into your own hands. You're going to dominate. You're going to be successful. I challenge you. What are you going to do today to make your life better? Get to my website, premedproductivity.com. Grab a free ebook, sign up for a free webinar, and if you're really ready to transform, enroll in one of my life-changing courses or coaching programs. You have greatness inside you. Let me show you how to unlock it so you can dominate and make your dreams a reality. No excuses, just dominate.